Greetings, Bassketeers. Josh Fosgreen here. Today, we are going to learn how to avoid some double thumbing mistakes and to do the technique correctly so that you can play the things that you want to play. There's no PDF today. We're just going to talk through a few things. I already have kind of a basic video where I talk about double thumbing, so this is more making some adjustments with your technique is the intention. But again, doing the double thumb is very much like using a pick, which I am not very good at. But when you use a pick on bass or guitar, you have a downstroke and an upstroke. So similarly, with the double thumb, unlike the normal slap technique, which is a rotational movement, the double thumb is much more like using a pick. And that's it. So what are some of the common mistakes you can make when you're trying to learn this technique? Number one, this is going to sound a little bit feel-good Tony Robbins-y, but it's still a very important point. In my opinion, the number one mistake you can make trying to learn the double thumb technique is to assume that it's going to be really hard because, oh, you saw Victor Wooten do it, or oh, you saw Marcus Miller doing it, and they're really good, and I'm really not good, so it's going to be hard for me to learn that technique. What I find with students over the years is that when somebody is really convinced that they're not going to be able to do something, that to some extent is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And if you assume something's going to be hard, then you'll probably kind of clench up and intend to struggle over it. And so to the extent that your beliefs and persuasions affect your personal reality, thinking that double thumbing is hard is going to make it harder. So what I recommend is to just take your bass away. Imagine I don't have my bass with me, and just go like this. And think about how not hard it is to do this. You know, whether you're holding a pick or doing it with your thumb, this is a really easy movement to do with your body. So if you stick your bass there and you do the movement, all you have to do is work up a little bit of accuracy with your right hand so that you can hit the strings you're aiming for, and then work with applying it with different coordinations and different patterns and stuff. If you assume it's going to be hard, then you'll probably have that experience. But if you just think, hey, a new thing I can do with my thumb, I wonder how that's going to be, you're probably going to have a much easier time as a result of it. I don't know. Give it a try. That's really my first tip. But now into some more physical things for those of you who think, no, the things I think in my head could never affect the things that I do with my body. They're completely separate. Let's talk about some physical stuff that creates problems with this technique. Number one, tensing up your right hand. This is a big issue with the normal bouncing slap technique too. If your thumb's too rigid, it'll sound like this instead of getting a nice thump out of it. Similarly, if your arm and your thumb are too tense, you're just going to get stuck on the strings and you're not going to be able to go very fast, because going fast means you need to be relaxed. So just start with your shoulder, relax your shoulder, make sure you're not doing this. Relax your arm through the bicep, through the elbow, relax your forearm, keep your wrist loose, shake it around a little bit if you need to. Do this with your fingers a little bit, just get that tension out of there. Now, without instantly tensing back up, put your hand at your bass and just go like this. Just wiggle your arm at the elbow and stick your thumb on the string down and up. You're going through the string to rest on the next string and then coming back up. Just relax. Don't even worry about hitting the right string. Just think about like a lazy singer-songwriter playing guitar and just going and just doing their little down-up strummy pattern. That's all you're doing with your thumb. Just lazy. Keep it loosey-goosey. Pursuant to that, second point about tension is to not try to do the technique all with your thumb muscle. It's okay to use a little thumb muscle if that feels comfortable. This is something I focus on with the basic slap technique too, and I guess we're going to get a few tips on that in this video too, because these are very similar techniques. With the basic slap, I'm not wiggling my thumb, I'm rotating my arm right here, right past the banana is where the rotation's actually happening for the slap technique. So we're not doing a rotation with the double thumb, we're doing more of a down-up motion like a pick, but we're still coming at the elbow joint rather than rotation. We're just doing this kind of thing. Is where the most of the movement is coming from in general. You can play with that. You could do it with your shoulder if you wanted to. You could try to do it with your wrist. And you can wiggle your thumb a little bit. But what I suggest is primarily getting the double thumb motion from movement at the elbow joint. What that allows you to do is, since you're using all these tendons and all these muscles, you don't have to have a banana on yours. It'll still work without it, but it works better with the banana. Rather than just using this one little muscle here, you're using all these muscles in here to control that movement. So you can go pretty fast, and you won't get tired instantly because you're not trying to go like this with the tiny little muscle, which I can already feel my thumb getting tired from doing that. Okay, so don't think it's hard so far. These are what we got. Tip number 1, don't think it's hard. Tip number 2, relax your arm. Don't get all tense just because you're trying a new thing. Tip number 3, get most of your force from moving your arm at the elbow joint. Tip number 4 is striking surface and thumb angle. I see some guys doing this hyperextension thing with this thumb joint, and then they get this weird kind of pointy thumb. And what happens if you try to double thumb with that is on the way up, your thumb's gonna get stuck under the string, man. Don't do it. So you just want a relaxed, straight-ish thumb. Don't hyperextend this joint, don't bend it this way. Just have a nice straight thumb. And then you're striking just right along the side of your thumb. Just imagine that the side of your thumb is the tip of the pick. And you know, most people's thumbs, there's even a little bit, the thumb actually comes out here a little bit on the ridge. So you can focus on that, but I'm using the whole side of my thumb when I double thumb. Just a nice straight thumb. Just brushes past the string and grabs it on the way back up. Those are my 4 best tips for having a good basic double thumb technique. Don't assume it's going to be really hard for you to learn, because it's just a thing. Just learn it. Don't worry about it. Don't get all tense with your right hand, and that applies to your regular slap technique as well. Number 3 is to get most of your force at the elbow and don't overtax your thumb muscle. And number 4 is to just have a nice, relaxed, straight thumb and strike with the side of the thumb. Don't do a pointy thing and try to like stick the tip of your thumb under the string or anything like that. And that should get you rolling with a basically good-looking thumb technique. And then, you know, to practice it, just do all the stuff you would use to practice any other technique. Running scales is great. Run major scales or any other scales, playing each note twice or 4 times. Start slower than this, please. Or you can do, you know, then you can start working on just 1 hit per note. You have to start, that point, since it's a down-up technique, you have to start playing with which strings you choose to put notes on so that they're phrased in a way that you have your thumb set up for the notes. You know, you notice I'm kind of wiggling my hand around differently so that I'm keeping the notes in groups of 2, because it's a down-up technique, which is 2 hits. So you can start thinking about that kind of stuff, but these are just basic mistakes that I hope that you will easily avoid now that you've watched this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. I love teaching y'all bass lessons. I'll be back at you next week with a cool little double thumb groove that you can play with and see if you like it and impress your friends. I have a new book in the works. It's a beginning to intermediate scales and arpeggios for bass book. I'm really excited about it. It'll be out sometime this year, I think. In the meantime, you can still get beastly scales and arpeggios through my website, which is a more advanced take on moving around the neck with scales and arpeggios. But I'm really excited about this new book project, so stay tuned for that. I'll be back at you next week. Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.